The Spartans had a method to guarantee success that you can apply to your daily life today, so listen closely, because this is a principle warriors have used for centuries. Put yourself in a situation where you have too much at stake to fail, where wasting time is no longer an option, where your back is against the wall and the only way out is forward. The Spartans didn't need a name for it, but later it became known as death ground, a place where retreat doesn't exist. A place where you either act or you don't survive. And once you understand this, everything changes. A young Spartan once believed that having a way out made him stronger, that as long as there was a path back, he could think more clearly, act more carefully, and survive longer. And that single thought was enough. Enough to slow him down, enough to make him hesitate, enough to break his focus. It wasn't fear that held him back. It was the possibility of escape, and for years, that belief stayed with him, until the day he was sent across the sea. They sailed before dawn, the water dark, the air cold, the sound of oars cutting through silence. No one spoke. Every man on that ship knew where they were going, enemy land, a place most men never returned from. But still, in the back of his mind, there was comfort. The ships. If something went wrong, they could always retreat. When they reached the shore, everything moved fast. Shields up, formation set, the kind of precision that only comes from years of discipline. They secured the area and waited for the next command. Then it came. Not an order to advance, not an order to prepare. The commander looked at them and said, "Burn the boats." At first, no one moved. The words didn't make sense. Burn the only way back? But the command was repeated, calm and final. And one by one, torches were lit. Flames spread across the wood, slow at first, then violent, devouring everything that had carried them there. Smoke rose into the sky, thick and heavy, and the sound of burning wood filled the air. The young Spartan stood there, watching, and in that moment, something shifted inside him. Because with every second, the truth became clearer. There was no retreat, no escape, no second option. The sea behind him was no longer a path home, it was a wall. And for the first time in his life, his mind went quiet. No calculations, no what if, no hesitation. Because there was nothing left to protect for later. There was only one direction left: forward. When the enemy appeared, charging toward them, the battle began like any other. Noise, impact, chaos. But inside him, everything felt different. He didn't think about surviving. He didn't think about the outcome. He moved. Every action immediate. Every decision final. Not because he had become fearless overnight, but because fear had nowhere left to go. It had nothing to hold on to, and in that moment, he understood something that changed him forever. It was never the enemy that made men hesitate. It was the possibility of retreat. The idea that they could turn back had always held them back. But now, there was no back, only forward. And that is why they won. Not because they were stronger, not because they were better, but because they had removed the option of losing. Most people live their lives with boats still behind them, a backup plan, a way out, a maybe later. And because of that, they never fully commit. They hesitate, they wait, they hold back. But the truth is, you don't need more motivation. You don't need more discipline. You need to put yourself in a position where there is too much at stake to waste time, where action is no longer optional. You need to burn the boats. So ask yourself, what is your way out? What are you still holding on to that lets you stay comfortable, that lets you delay, that gives you permission to not act? Because the moment there is no way back, you stop negotiating with yourself and you start moving. And once you understand that, you don't need to force action anymore. It becomes inevitable. Now here's the part most people ignore. This isn't just a story about war. This is your life. Because you still have boats behind you, everywhere. You don't fully commit to your life, not because you're lazy, but because you've built yourself too many exits. Think about it. You don't push yourself to build something real, because deep down you know you could always go back. Back to your parents, back to safety, back to something familiar. So you delay. You tell yourself you'll start later, and later never comes. You don't take your work seriously, because there's always another option, another job, another path, another excuse. So you do just enough. You stay comfortable because you can. You don't fully show up in your relationship because you know you can leave at any time. So instead of committing, instead of growing, instead of putting in real effort, you hold back. You protect yourself. You keep one foot out the door. And that distance slowly destroys everything. You don't go all in on your goals because failure is still an option you can escape from. If it gets hard, you can quit. If it gets uncomfortable, you can stop. And because that option exists, you use it. You do it in training too. You hold something back. Not because you can't push harder, but because a part of you is already thinking about later. Maybe you'll need that energy tonight. Maybe something else comes up. So you never truly empty the tank. You stop just before it gets real. But that's exactly why you stay the same. Because progress only happens when there is no later to save yourself for. When you decide that this moment is the only one that matters, that this set, this run, this effort is where everything is spent. No reserve, no escape. That's when you finally break through. And then there's the quieter escape. The one almost no one notices. You never sit alone with your own thoughts anymore. The second it gets uncomfortable, you reach for something. Your phone, music, content, anything to fill the space. Dopamine becomes your escape boat. Every scroll, every distraction pulls you away from reality just enough so you don't have to face what's actually going on inside. And the more you use it, the harder it becomes to stay present, to think clearly, to confront yourself. But growth only happens when there is nowhere to run. When you remove the noise, the distractions, the easy exits, and you're left alone with your mind. That's uncomfortable. But that's where clarity begins. That's the truth most people don't want to hear. Your problem isn't lack of motivation, it's the presence of escape. As long as there is a way back, you will never go all in. So what do? You burn the boats, not literally, but strategically. You remove the easy way out. You want to take your work seriously? Make it real. Put yourself in a position where your results actually matter. Take on responsibility you can't ignore. Set deadlines that cost you something if you miss them. Not fake pressure, real stakes. You want to build discipline? Remove the alternatives. Stop giving yourself 10 different options every day. Decide once and close the door behind it. The Spartan didn't wake up every morning asking, "What do I feel like doing today?" He followed through. No negotiation. You want to fix your focus? Cut off the distractions that act as your escape. The endless scrolling, the constant dopamine, the little exits you run to whenever things get difficult. Because every time you escape discomfort, you train yourself to stay weak. You want to grow in your relationships. Stop keeping an exit in the back of your mind. Decide to show up fully. Decide to invest. Decide to stay present instead of always thinking about what else is out there. Because commitment only works when leaving is no longer your default solution. And no, this doesn't mean trapping yourself in bad situations. It means removing the unnecessary exits that keep you from ever going deep enough to succeed. Because here's what happens when you do this. At first, it feels uncomfortable. Your mind will panic. It will look for a way out that no longer exists. It will tell you you've made a mistake, that you need more options, more safety, more time. But then something shifts. The noise disappears. The overthinking stops, and action becomes simple. Because there is no decision left to make. You move because you have to. That's the power of this principle. It doesn't make things easier. It makes them inevitable. So look at your life. Honestly, where are your boats still waiting behind you? What are you still holding on to, just in case? And what would happen if you removed it? Because the moment retreat is gone, you stop being the person who almost tries, and you become the person who executes. So understand this. You don't need more motivation. You don't need a better plan. You don't need to feel ready. You need fewer exits. Because as long as there is a way back, a part of you will always take it. You'll hesitate. You'll overthink. You'll wait. Not because you're weak, but because you never removed the option to walk away. The Spartan didn't become powerful in the moment of battle. He became powerful the moment retreat disappeared, the moment the boats burned. So did the hesitation. So did the doubt. So did the part of him that was still negotiating. And what was left was action. That's the shift you've been waiting for. Not more thinking, not more preparation. Commitment first, clarity comes after. So stop asking yourself if you're ready. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Remove the way out, because the life you want only begins when going back is no longer an option.